Starfield was my most anticipated game of 2023 because I am a very big Bethesda Game Studios fan. Skyrim is still my most favorite game of all time. I even really like Fallout 4. Unfortunately, Fallout 76 was a big disaster at launch. Now the question is, did Bethesda redeem themselves with Starfield? I can confidently say yes, they have. Starfield is a major step up in quality on almost every aspect to Fallout 76. Now that doesn't mean this game is perfect, far from it actually, and as a Bethesda fan you should really set expectations right with this game before you dive in. Let's talk about it. Hello guys, welcome to a new Ace Ice video, and today we're going to talk about my most hyped video game of this year, which is Starfield. Is it good? Does it live up to the hype Todd Howard promised us? Well, let's talk about it. Starfield is really a big step up on its graphical presentation from previous Bethesda Game Studios games. This is mostly because of the engine overhaul they have done with Creation Engine 2. The game is now much more in line with today's AAA standard looks, shall I say, when it comes to lighting and textures, especially. It looks very good. The game has an amazing art style and art direction that Bethesda calls NASA punk. Whatever the hell that's supposed to mean, lol. I was always astounded with the level to detail in certain interior designs. There is so much clutter everywhere and almost all of it is interactable, which is very similar to the previous games like Skyrim or Fallout 4. The lighting and texture models look always pretty good. Unfortunately though, there is a big difference between companion quest NPCs and the normal filler NPCs. You will immediately notice the difference in quality between the two. I didn't really get upset too much with this, however though, you never really interact with these filler NPCs anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Bethesda has always been known to have buggy games, because their games are of course always very large in scale and scope. But I am actually happy to report that Starfield might be the least buggy game Bethesda has ever released. I still did encounter some small visual bugs, but none of it really hindered my total experience of 80 hours of playtime, so that's pretty good. The frame rate is also pretty solid. The game runs on a steady 30 FPS on Xbox Series X and 60 FPS on PC. However, you have to keep in mind that my PC is a AMD build, which is the system type that Starfield just runs better on. I have heard different stuff from Nvidia users, so be aware of that. I also just really love the aesthetics of the game in general, from all the menu designs to the various different in-game architecture of buildings or the various starships, and a lot of the armor looks really cool in the game. Now, let's talk about Starfield's sound design. I really like the soundtrack. It's typical Bethesda design, which is a lot of ambient music as well as orchestra mixed together that you can hear in combat or just exploring the world. It doesn't really blow me out of the water like other games I've played this year, but it definitely succeeds at its job to immerse you. All the different sound effects are also on point, from weapons shooting to just different miscellaneous small sound effects that you hear in the world. I will never get tired of hearing the starship boot up sound effect. That stuff is just iconic. All in all, Starfield's graphics and sound design are all on point, and it's pretty bug-free as well. for such a big game. Good stuff. Starfield really tries to be the Skyrim in space, but at the same time it's definitely not Skyrim in space. You might like that or not depending on your taste in previous Bethesda games. Now I have to get one big thing out of the way with this game. Starfield does not play like No Man's Sky at all, and that clearly wasn't the intention. A lot of people in the fanbase assumed you could fly directly from planet to planet seamlessly, and that's just not the case. Starfield is basically a much bigger version of something like Mass Effect. You select a planet on the star map and you fast travel to it with a grav drive, which is an in-game ship item that lets you travel at light speed. Once you arrive at your location, you can choose to land on the planet or fly in the orbit of that planet, where you might find space stations or other ship vessels with quests. When you land on an empty planet, the game will render a small open world tile that lets you explore a part of the planet. You are actually able to explore the whole planet if you want, but you will have to get back into your ship and pick a new landing spot. This is basically because of hardware limitations, which is understandable because the whole planet does get rendered in real time. Even planets that you can see standing on a planet get rendered in real time with a day and night cycle. Everything basically operates in its own pocket. You basically explore one pocket of content, but then transition to the next pocket. All these places are very segmented from each other. Unfortunately, this breaks the seamless exploration you know from games like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, because almost everything is explorable on foot in those games with just one big open world map, which Starfield just can't do with its many planets. On foot exploration is actually still there, but it's much more downgraded because of its procedural generated content, and it's definitely not the main star of the game. But the beauty of this game is that all of those empty planets are just side content that you never really have to do at all, which is crazy. Luckily, the game still has a lot of handcrafted content that really balances out from its procedural counterpart, especially in the big cities like Atlantis, Neon, Aquila and Sidonia, and much more. I was really surprised with the amount of big locations and settlements in the game, which is a big contrast from Fallout 4, which was a big sticking point for me. And all of these cities have interactable environments and local street vendors to make the game feel much more alive. One big praise I will give to Starfield is the actual role-playing. Bethesda has really listened to the negative feedback of Fallout 4 on this front. You have many different outcomes for different quest lines, and you can also have multiple variations of discovering a certain quest. The skill system really hammers home more role-playing options in general. As an example, you can't just use the sneaking ability right out of the gate if you want to be a thief. You will have to unlock that ability through the skill tree, and better versions of certain skills can be unlocked if you complete challenges for that skill. It's a pretty unique leveling system that stands out from Fallout and Elder Scrolls in this regard. This might also be the best combat system yet in a Bethesda game to date. The shooting and movement feels something right out of a Destiny game, which is pretty cool. And I have never seen so many ammo types in a game as well, maybe even too many to keep track of. And let's not forget the space combat. Bethesda actually managed to make a great space combat system, and it's not an easy one either. You have a power system and you basically allocate different power resources to different parts of your ship. If you are in a combat situation, you can allocate more power to your combat skills like your laser weapons or missiles. And if you need to escape a combat encounter, you can put all that power in your grav drive to jump faster away from an encounter. You can get more power on your ship depending on how you built it. You can even board ships and raid them. I really enjoyed my time with ship combat. It's really the highlight of the game. And Starfield is full of resource crafting. You can mine different planets with outposts that you build or mine yourself on the ground. You can put those resources towards research development, weapons and armor crafting, or outpost crafting. You can get many companions in the game that you can make a ship crew member but also a outpost worker. It's much more fleshed out than Fallout 4. If you love the outpost mechanic there, you will really love it here. Starfield also has the coolest New Game Plus feature I have ever seen in a video game ever. I really want to keep this a secret for you guys. You will have to find out on your own what it is, because it's really worth it. Now, let's talk about some of the negatives of Starfield, because this game is far from perfect. The menus can be very clunky to navigate. This could have been much more streamlined. And for some weird reason, there is no local map at all. And this is very frustrating, especially in the big city locations. Luckily, Bethesda did already say that they will patch this at a later date. At first I really liked the new lockpicking minigame, but after a while when you get access to more difficult locks, it just becomes a big time waster. So much so that I didn't even bother anymore at some point with them.
Now you know. Whoa! God damn it! God damn it! You son of a bitch! Oh!
Even though the exploration might not be what we hoped for, Starfield has so much content that you will probably forget about it after a long time playing.
This is Constellation Star Station LO868. Welcome aboard.
Starfield is basically a video game version of the TV show The Expanse. It's a sci-fi show I really like, and this game is a big evolved version of that story. It's the closest thing we will get towards an open world video game version of The Expanse. So if you really like that TV show, you might actually really enjoy Starfield's main story. The main story for Starfield is actually really interesting, and it might be one of the best Bethesda has done to this day. You basically join an exploration group called Constellation, and this group searches for ancient artifacts. What are the artifacts and where do they come from? Those are the questions raised by the game. And what happened to Earth? Unfortunately, the game doesn't really answer every question I had at the end of the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bethesda will make expansions that will answer some of these questions. But I did wish they would have been answered in the mainline game, but oh well. One thing though that Bethesda always has done very well is the lore building, and Starfield is no different from Elder Scrolls or Fallout in this regard. You will discover so many side quests that will flesh out the story and the lore in many ways. I am also happy to report that the faction story quest lines are independent from each other, which was also a sticking point for me with Fallout 4, but they don't sacrifice the choice and consequence. You will definitely like some factions over others though, especially the UC questline, don't miss that one. But that was one thing I really wanted to see back from Elder Scrolls, to have these independent quest lines, to give the game more content, shall I say, and that's something that they have done, which I will praise them for. There are 4 major companions in Starfield, and these 4 will comment on everything you do in the game. These companions are also much deeper than previous Bethesda games, and they all have their own individual questline to do great stuff. One negative that I do have with these companions is that they are very one-way sided with their morality. I wish there was at least one companion that was more evil, cause all of them are very much on the right side of the law, which makes a evil playthrough much less fun and detailed. In a nutshell, the story and companions are pretty good and they have been some of the best Bethesda has ever made, but I do miss vital explanations that are left mostly unanswered.
Maybe you catch a smile and uncover the source of it all.
Starfield is a very ambitious game with a lot of content that can keep you busy for hours upon hours, and Bethesda has really answered some of the biggest negatives presented with Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. Even though exploration falters to satisfy most Bethesda fans with too many loading screens, the positives really outweigh the negatives, and Starfield's foundation is very solid to build off from for modders. If you are searching for the Expanse open world experience, look no further than this game. I can only hope Bethesda will keep the procedural generated content to a minimum for Elder Scrolls 6, but for Starfield it made sense. I suggest that you check it out. Not everyone will like it, but that's okay. The final verdict for Starfield will be a 9 out of 10 with a skill score to 8.5. Now, did you guys like this review, this Ace Eyes review? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching as always. I'm sorry that this one took very long to make. It's a very big game and I played almost 80 hours to 90 hours plus, and then I also had to make the review itself. So I was very busy with this one in particular. The next review will probably be Spider-Man 2. I'm not very sure of that yet. I can only really review that many games in a short time span, so I do think that will be the next one. So look forward towards that. Of course, I can also say that I will be doing top 10 videos pretty soon in the fall somewhere, or maybe towards the beginning of the winter. I will be doing a top 10 most anticipated games for 2024, and I will also be doing, of course, my own top 10 GOTY video, which I will do every year. So look forward towards that, and I will see you guys in the next Ace Eyes video. Bye bye.